What's up, guys? My name's Dean, or as most of you know me, Twisty, and it's time for another footy preview this week. It's round 7, so normally they said the top 8 only has one change after round 7. It'll be interesting to see if that happens by the end of the year. But let's see, another big round of football, plenty of big games, and let's start with tonight's game. The Tigers and the Hawks, big ins and outs for both sides. Vlosten, McIntosh, Griffiths, and Short come in. Cochin goes out with a cheekbone. He'll be back in a couple of weeks. Marriage omitted. Lambert out with the rib kidney injury. And Asprey has been omitted as well. So if you take a look at Richmond's lineup, there's not really too many key position defenders back there. You've got Troy Chaplin, who I'm assuming is going to play on Jack Gunston at some stage because he's technically the number 1 defender there if Asprey's not playing. And then Jake Batchelor will have to play on a Bruce or a Schoenmakers, or I don't think Schoenmakers is playing, but he'll have to play on a taller type in their forward line. That being said, Hawthorn don't have a rough head down there, so it's not like they're looking for this big marking tall forward. For the Hawks, Brand, Langford, Hartung come in, James Frawley out with concussion, Hodge with a knee, and Lovell gets omitted as well. So both sides pretty far off their full strength lineups. But Hawthorn are definitely heavy favourites going into this. I have a sneaky suspicion that Richmond will do something much different this week than they've been doing all season. I have no idea why. I'll be at the game tonight anyway. I'll be hopefully seeing a Richmond win. But definitely Hawthorn look heavy favourites here. And it could definitely be a blowout very easily if Richmond don't pick up their act. But some of their players look like they just want to have a huge day out there. So I could see Jack Riewoldt kicking a bag of 5 easily tonight. But that being said, I think Hawthorn are probably the stronger side, and I think they may get over the line in this one. Saturday, there's 6 games on Saturday. So the first one is Collingwood and Carlton at the MCG. Jesse White, James Aish, and Crocker come in. Nathan Brown omitted. Langdon goes out with the ankle, and Sinclair with concussion does not play. For the Blues, Walker, Cripps, and Everett come in. Wiedering out with a shoulder injury. Phillips out with a hamstring, and Graham goes out as well. So a couple of big ins there for the Blues, Walker, Cripps, and Everett. I think that they're 3... Well, Cripps isn't really an experienced player, but he just looks like he is such a good player for them. Walker, very much experienced. Everett, very much experienced. So those 3 guys will definitely add something to the Carlton side. I think their average games are about 30 games ahead of where Collingwood are in terms of average games played, and they're about a 4-year-older side. So Carlton aren't as young as people think because they do have so many mature age recruits that they have brought in over the last season or so just to try and get their list back up and running, and then of course they've got their experienced players like Simpson and stuff, etc. But I think Collingwood are going to win this game. I think their youth, they're still a development team, but I think that their youth will be able to pick them up over the line here. Still no Travis Cloak. I think there's been like 3 weeks now where he hasn't played. So Mason Cox doing a lot of hold his spot. Might have to play number 1 ruck or number 2 ruck. But very, very good stuff from Collingwood. I think they're going to beat Carlton this weekend. I think they are going to win. As good as Carlton have been going lately, they've only beaten Essendon and Fremantle. So not too much that they can say we did a hell of a lot well. And last week was a really poor skill of a game. Anyway, Geelong and the Eagles. This is a huge game. This is at the Cattery. Ruggles, Mackey, and Stanley come back. Vardy, Kolajasny, and Buse all omitted for the Cats. For the Eagles, Yo comes back in after being a late withdrawal last week, and Butler goes out with the groin injury. So everyone's talking about how the Eagles have struggled to travel lately, and that they haven't been a stronger side on the road as they are at home. And they average, I think, 20-something more points at home. So it's about a 5-goal advantage that they take at their home ground. And I think Geelong have that similar sort of home ground advantage, especially against interstate teams. The ground dimensions, though, are very similar. They're a little bit smaller to Subiaco, in fact. So a lot of people say, West Coast can't transfer their game plan from ground to ground. They only do it at home because it's a much narrower ground. But it's even more narrow down at Simmons Stadium, I think it's called now. And I think that will work to their advantage. But then again, it is down at Geelong, and Geelong, you know, you cannot beat them there. You got Selwood and Dangerfield. They're such a good, dominant pair. I haven't seen much of Geelong this year, but they're going to be a side that is going to be very high up in the ladder, even could be the minor premiers this year. They got a very good draw. So I think they're going to beat the Eagles this week. I think it might be a pretty close game. I hope it's a close game. But I think Geelong just over the West Coast Eagles. Moving on, Sydney Essendon. Nick Smith comes in for Aliir. Disappointing to see him out, but he'll probably get back in at some stage throughout the year. And then Essendon, Grimer, Bagley, Redmond, Bird, and McKernan. So Grimer and Redmond will be making their Essendon debuts. Grimley, Gleeson, omitted. Darcy Parish and Carl Langford have been arrested, and Stokes is out with a hamstring injury. There's a no-brainer here. I think the question of this game is how many goals will Franklin kick. I'm thinking he'll go for maybe 9. Let's go with 9 goals for Buddy, because he's not super accurate. I think that one stage when he kicked 13, he kicked 13-4. So he still had 17 shots a goal. Maybe he'll kick 16 goals. I've got no idea. I hope he just has an extraordinary day out, but the Swans will win that one easily. Next game's Gold Coast and Melbourne. When is this one? Is this Saturday night? Or is this a second Saturday twilight game? This is a second Saturday twilight game. The Gold Coast and Melbourne, Sard, Garlett, McPherson come in. Davis, McWillis, and McKenzie go out. For the D's, Garland, Oliver, Stretch, and Michie in. Lyndon Dunn, Frost omitted. Lumumba and Salem both out with concussion injuries. So, that's an interesting game, this one, because both sides had a reasonable start to the year. They're pretty inconsistent sides, and, you know, both have looked good at stages, but then they've also looked really bad at stages. You know, I'm talking about the Gold Coast Suns last week. They got demolished, and then to Geelong, and then, you know, Melbourne, they lost to Essendon, and they had a couple of good wins, and then they lose to St Kilda. But St Kilda have been very good this year, I must say that. But I think the Gold Coast are going to win just because it's up in Metricon Stadium. I think that's the only reason I'm picking them there. They do play a little bit better at home. And Melbourne, we haven't seen them win on the road very much. So the Gold Coast Suns will win this game. I'm tipping anyway, by, I don't know, no more than 3 kicks, I'm assuming. And then we go on to this first of the Saturday night games, probably the game of the round. The Western Bulldogs take on the Adelaide Crows, and it's a big game, this one. Big game. The Bulldogs aren't as... They're a very good side, but they have lost a number of players, and I don't think that they are going to be covering that depth as well as people may think they have been. But the way their game style's set up, it allows them to sort of just have players come in and play a role and then do well, which is a very Hawthorn-like style about them. They've been very, very good in that aspect. Jack Redpath comes in, big target down forward. They need that. Caleb Daniel comes in. He's a very good player as well. Lynn John omitted. Kobe Stevens out with the abdominal injury. And for the Crows, Henderson and Crouch come in. Laird and Lyons go out. So I think Adelaide are going to win this game. The only reason being is that the Bulldogs, as good as they are, I don't think they have enough run-off half-back, which is a key of their game style. It is very much like their ultimate game style is their run-off half-back. And I don't know how well their forwards will be able to apply pressure, because this Adelaide defense is probably the best defense in the comp right now. I know the Bulldogs are the best at defending scores. They at least scored against side in the competition, but Adelaide are they're on fire. Whenever they get the ball in their defense, you know it just starts a scoring chain up in the forward line. And I think we saw that even last year in the elimination final. That last goal, big from defense, over the back goal to seal the deal. And that was the last time they met. 7-point win to the Crows in that elimination final. I think Adelaide will get over the line again. You know, everyone was saying last year if that was played at Etihad Stadium, the Bulldogs would have won. They're playing at Etihad Stadium this time, but I think the Crows are going to win. On to the 6th Saturday games, because we've got 6 Saturday games this week. Ibbotson, Subin, and Hughes come in for Fremantle. They're playing against the Giants. Gray, Clark, and Tugger go out for the Dockers as well. Giants made no changes after their walloping of the Hawks last week. Huge win over Hawthorn. Callum Ward's 150th game for the Giants, so congratulations to him. Very good team, the Giants. destroyed Hawthorn in contested ball last week, won by about 40 plus. And Fremantle are not going too well right now. That's safe to say. They haven't got a win on the board, and when they're dropping guys like Zach Clark, like he is pretty much their second ruckman, or was their second ruckman, until Sandilands went down and went into that first rock position. But you've got Ibbotson comes back into the side, was probably their best defender last year when Johnson's not around. So I was surprised to see him dropped like earlier in the season. Subin's an in and out player. He's not always in the side, but you got to go to the Giants in this one. The Giants for me are a top 4 side. You look at their draw; it's pretty open for them. They could very well be maybe even a top 2 finish come later on in the year, depending on how well they go. So the Giants, I'm getting excited early. I'm a very big Giants fan. They're pretty much my second side to the Tigers. But I love the Giants. I love the way they work. They've got so many extraordinarily awesome players to watch. So I think they're going to get over the line very easily here. Moving on to Sunday, St Kilda play the Roos. Loney, Goddard, Murdoch come in. 3 to be omitted, of course, from the squads. Mackenzie, Mullet, Nahas, Wood and Dorr come in for North Melbourne. 2 confirmed outs with Kane Turner and Lizzie Thomas has been suspended. And it's Petrie's 300th game, so very good stuff to Drew Petrie there, champion of the North Melbourne Football Club. The Roos should make it 7 and zip here, I'm thinking. St Kilda have been one of those sides this year that have been very, very competitive. Look like they're going to knock over a couple of sides. Should have knocked over the Hawks. Should have knocked over someone else as well. But St Kilda, they're a much better side than I was thinking coming into the season. I had them in my bottom 3 or bottom 4, but they're definitely a much better side. They could potentially cause an upset here. I'm not brave enough to tip it. I think North Melbourne, they got so much experience. It's pretty much youth versus experience here. St Kilda got so much youth. North Melbourne got so much experience, and that's what's going to get them over the line, is those experienced players. And they'll do it for Drew's 300th game. They will win that game. And the final game of the round, Port Adelaide and Brisbane, Sunday twilight. Wingard, Trengove and Amon come in. A couple of players to be omitted. And for the Lions, Shaki, Tame Beams, and Marco Paparone come into the side. I think Shaki and Beams may play. So a couple of players will get omitted from that side. But this is an interesting game as well, because Port Adelaide, they've been going amazing the last couple of weeks. They beat Richmond last week. It was a pretty good win. They looked very dangerous last week. Every time they got near the ball, they just had their running game on. Brisbane should have beaten the Swans last week. Stretchergate, big issue. Whether or not that cost them a win, I'm not too sure. But if they bring that competitiveness that they bring to the Gabba every week to a game over at Adelaide Oval, they could be a damaging side. Like, Dane Beams come in, huge in, and Shaki also big presence down in that forward line. So you never know what could happen, but you think Port Adelaide at home would get the chocolates in this one. And that is it for the round of football. Have a look at my tips on screen. I'm probably wrong about a few things, but let me know what you think. I'll be at the football tonight, hoping to see a big Tiger win. Leave a big thumbs up if you enjoyed today's video, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.